Welcome everybody to Lais and The Coach. And once again, we've been gone for way too long,
Forever.
but we are back. We are going to wrap up 2023 with 2022. Shit.
He's already trying to wrap up 2023. Damn.
We're going to wrap up 2022 with a bunch of interviews because the contest season just closed. And this particular interview has been months in the making because we've been trying to talk to Tiffany since August.
Yes.
So Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Is a Team Forever athlete and has just done her second show in Atlantic City with us this weekend that just passed. And we are going to dive into all of the things that went into getting ready for the show, being a mom, being a wife, navigating through life, and still getting it done.
Yes.
So let's go all the way back, Tiff, to when you started.
Okay.
Because when you started, you did not originally start with the idea of stepping on stage.
No, I wasn't ready.
So what made you get started in the first place?
So I've always worked out, and I've worked with several different trainers. But mainly all the trainers that I've worked with in the past treat everyone as one. So like they have one workout for everyone. And I just wasn't getting to where I wanted to be. And then my daughters and I did a beauty pageant, which is where I met Jen Donahue. And then once she competed, I'm like, girlfriend, I need to know all of your tricks, which us who work out, we know there's the tricks is actually doing the work. But that's when she introduced me to you guys. And then I did the Metamorphosis project. And then I came for the photo shoot and everybody was like, so when are you competing? I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready. And so that's where it all started.
So just to give everyone a little bit of context, the Metamorphosis project is a project that we ran this year a couple of times for anybody who was in our program that was working on their fitness goals, but weren't getting on stage or weren't thinking about the stage. They just wanted to transform and they wanted to have an experience that allowed them to do a little bit more than just get the outcome, right? Like put outfits together, have an outside of your comfort zone experience. And we put a photo shoot together for those people.
Yes.
And Tiffany was one of those people. She was in our lifestyle program and she was getting ready for that. But she came to her photo shoot weekend for Metamorphosis, which was joint with a Team Forever photo shoot weekend experience. So all the team members were here. And when everybody saw Tiffany, they were like, hello, like you have to compete.
Right.
And that's how, just to give context on what the Metamorphosis project even is.
Yeah. And then we all went out to dinner that night. And after a couple mojitos, my husband and Lais thought it was a great idea for me to jump on the stage at Worlds.
Yes.
And sure enough, how different, here's the thing, like one of the things that we hear, and I'm sure at this point you hear it all the time, is that people think that getting ready for the stage is a big sacrifice and you're with Tupperware all the time. How different was it in comparison to what we were doing before I guess for you?
So I guess there really isn't comparison at all. Working with you guys was totally different than working with anybody else. You actually pay attention to each individual person and how that affects, like we've all heard the stories of asparagus and tilapia and all this other stuff. And so going into it was totally different because, for Worlds, going up to Worlds, I think it was a month out. I was like, there's still alcohol on my plan. We would go out with friends and they're like, you're about to step on stage and you just ordered French fries. I'm like, listen, I'm just doing what I'm told, on this piece of paper. And they're like, it's still a joke with my friends. They're like, oh, so your trainer meets you at the gym? I'm like, no, they live in Orlando. And they're like, so you just follow what he sends you? I'm like, yeah, that's it. You just have to do it and you have to execute it. And so the one great thing is all the check-ins, everybody I've worked with in the past, I've sent them before pictures. And that's it. Months later, I haven't sent pictures. I haven't sent food plans, nothing. And then before I met you guys, I was doing everything through MyFitnessPal. And you figure out your own. And so, I mean, I would sit here on Sundays for like 3 hours trying to figure out what I was going to eat for the week and doing meal plans and what workout should I do. And then finally, when I met Jen, she was like, oh no, they do all the work for you. And I was like, you're kidding. And she's like, no. And I was like, yes. And so it's amazing. I mean, my whole family even knows like the thing now, you know, my husband does majority of the cooking and our scale never leaves the counter. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How's it been like, again, one of the, it's almost like we always talk about misconceptions,
I know, it's like-
but how's it been like in that aspect, navigating through having a family and work and prepping for this? Like, does it feel like you're giving up a lot of things as a result of having this goal?
No, because so we run several businesses. I have 3 teenage girls. We just built our dream house with our own bare hands. So the only thing in my life that is structured is my workouts. Every day I get up, I take my kids to school, I go to the gym. I know a lot of people sometimes don't have that ability. I have a girlfriend who gets up every morning at 4 a.m. and goes to the gym. I wish I could do that. That doesn't happen. I can't do it. And so it's perfect. There's a lot of people who can work out at night. Well, I know that if I miss my workout in the morning, I'm not going, because there is no telling what is going to happen from the time that I leave my kids at school till nighttime. And then at that point, you're like, well, my husband is home from work on the couch. I'm not going to the gym. Like, I want to sit down, which never happens anyways. There is no sitting down time. But
the idea is nice.
Yes, the idea is fabulous. But it's the only thing on my everyday that never changes. And so I have to have something that is structured.
Do you think that that's one of the reasons that a lot of other people may not succeed in different programs, because it's not like a constant?
Yes, it's not a priority for sure. But like, if I don't work out for 3 days, my family is like, okay, seriously, you have got to go somewhere. Like it is my therapy. It's just everything. It's the only thing that keeps me going, especially mentally.
Right.
But
That's such a big part.
I don't think, I think that that's an important thing. I don't think enough people really realize how much it pours into you.
Yeah.
Because we talk about that a lot. Like, the workout should kind of fill you, right? Like, because you're doing, at the end of the day, you really do forget the goal. Like, you're still doing something that's good for you, right? You're exercising.
Healthy.
But I don't think that a lot of times people like put at the forefront that you're doing a good thing and that it's pouring back into you. And then as a result, you're going to show up better for everybody else.
oh yeah.
It's almost like people look at it like, well, I don't have time for that. It's like the opposite. Like, you should make time for that so that you could show up better to do all the other things.
100%.
Right. Well, I even have people at the gym. They're like, oh my God, I wish I could have your body. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm every day you're here and you show up, I'm here. And even one time this girl says, oh, you're probably one of those girls who measures her food. And I'm like, it absolutely amazes me when people say that, because you still take the plate out of the drawer or out of the cabinet and set it on the counter to make your plate.
Right.
So why not put it on a scale? Like, that's
such a good way to put it, because that is a hot topic. Like, well, I can't measure my food like every day for the rest of my life. And your argument is usually my favorite, which is like, everything that we do that matters, like, we measure, right? Like, we all know how much money we have in the bank, how much is coming in, how much is going out, the bills that we have to pay. If we're gonna go on a vacation, we structure it. Like,
how much gas is in the tank?
Everything.
Everything is measured.
Everything's measured and structured in a way, like everything that matters. And it's like, what you're putting into your body, your health, your well-being, like, why is that such a hassle? Right? When everything else is supposed to be measured and quantified and paid attention to. But that's a really good point, because it's like, it really isn't an extra step. And people really like like that's happened to me too, where people, it really is like it takes from them. Like they are exhausted looking at me, you know, like every time, like, yeah, bitch, like it's not that hard.
No.
Put it on the scale.
I know. And they're like, oh, you probably don't drink. I'm like, no, I almost drink every day. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so I just take my glass, no matter if it's a champagne glass, a wine glass, or a cocktail glass, I still set it on the scale. Like that's what I just don't, that's what just baffles me. It just gets to me. And then a lot of people think we seriously work out for like 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. Like I go to the gym, I work out for an hour and I go home. Like, no. But then the other thing that frustrates me so much is when they're like, oh, well, you know, what's a good TV series? I'm like, TV? Like this thing, we have to turn this thing on to make sure it even works sometimes, because it's never turned on. Like we're always on the go. And so that's what I tell a lot of people.
Unless it's Sunday at 8 p.m. because then there's Yellowstone and that we all have.
Yes, that too.
And that's it.
Yeah. But then when that series runs out, you're like, well, this is boring. What do we do?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. All the time. But
so along the road that we've been working together, one of the things that I like about your story is that it wasn't just figuring out how much food, it was figuring out the kinds of foods.
Right.
Because there's, throughout the process itself, there's just a lot of things that don't sit well with you.
Right.
And figuring out what things what things you could eat to make sure not only you were going to get the outcome, but still that we're not going to cause any kind of bad or negative responses was a little bit tricky. And
right.
I don't think that if we didn't talk every single day, we would have ever figured that out.
No. And sometimes I wonder if we even got it figured out, because I'll send you something and you're like, okay, be careful. I'm like, son of a bitch, he knows like how this is going to react. And then afterwards I'm like, nothing. And you're like, okay, we're going to note that. Like, what happened? I don't know. But yeah, that's another thing. Cause I say that to Sean all the time.
I remember sitting with you and Sean, your husband, at dinner when you first started working with us, because you guys are out of Tennessee and you happened to be in Florida, and we went to dinner. And I remember you talking about that. Like, you know, I have a lot of sensitivities too, which has taken us years of a lot of like trial and error and data collecting to figure out. I think when someone goes on a journey, all they think about is either how many pounds they're going to lose because they're really attached to the scale, or how they want to look, especially a journey to the States, right? But I think in general, like that's really always the motive, at least 90% of the time, unless God forbid someone's sick, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to lose X amount of weight, or you want the scale to say something specific, or you want to look a specific way. No one ever thinks about how they're going to feel, how many more years they're going to be able to be alive, how much more efficient they're going to be at their job or their everyday or as a mom, because they're fed and because they have mental clarity and because they feel good. No one even realizes how bloated they are and how just uncomfortable and how foggy and how tired. We just keep going. And I think every once in a while, like there are people who do realize, and you were one of those people, that yes, you want an outcome, but there are other things that are really important that would really change your quality of life. Because as somebody that experiences the same things in terms of the food sensitivities and the bloat and stuff like that, it's really uncomfortable. And there are a lot of times where you feel like so frustrating, like I can't eat anything normal, or like debilitating because you're so in pain and you're uncomfortable. And it's like, you went on this journey to look a certain way, but you were also aware that this was a massive win once you started to realize that you guys had figured it out.
Oh yeah,
and I think more people should think about other things other than just the way they're going to look or the number on the scale. Like sometimes people's hormones are out of whack. Sometimes people's gut is out of whack. Like there's so many things that happen, but like you always say, that's not sexy, right? Like no one wants to say, hey, I can fix your gut. Like, I don't give a shit. Like how many pounds can you make me lose? But it all matters, you know, how you feel matters so much more. And then if on top of it, then great. But I think that was such a massive win with you guys. I know it's a never ending trial and error, but you can get 80% of the way there and it already feels
even yesterday she took a bite out of a cookie and she knew immediately that it wasn't going to be a good idea. She still ate it, you know, like she knew that first bite. She's like, this is bad.
Oh yeah. I say it all the time. I'm like, I know I should not be eating this. I know this
like
is
the moment And some cookies are fine, but it depends on the oil that's in it. And in the moment it like hit my stomach, I was like, I'm gonna have a reaction. And
Right. And
here we are.
And I think that that's the misconception. Sometimes people hear things and they take it out of context. It's not that the cookie was bad. It's that that particular cookie just wasn't whatever is in it or whatever is in that brand or whatever, like just doesn't sit right with her. So it's not don't eat a cookie, just don't eat those cookies.
Well, it was a butter cookie with cookie butter in it. And I know that some butters are not butter. They are like margarine, and margarines have oils that are mixed in, and oils are not good for me. Right. But it's like, I just bit a cookie. Like, I'm not like, well, what oils are in here? Like, I didn't say, oh, this is a butter cookie. That's probably a problem. Like, cause I could eat Chips Ahoy all day. Like, nothing's gonna happen to me. But anyway, back to you, like, it was such a win, you know, for you guys to have at least a lot of that figured out.
Right. It still is a win to this day. And it keeps going. But like, it was a couple weeks ago when I texted you and I was like, okay, I don't understand. So I can't drink anything carbonated, but I can have champagne. But why
the only one that matters?
I'm like, but why does champagne not have a reaction, but red wine does? Like, and then it's, you know, it's always a battle. But when you guys post like Tuesday transformations, you know, people, I'll get messages. They're like, oh my gosh, how much weight have you lost? I'm like, that was 7 pounds. Like, but people don't understand, you know, it's not about the scale, my super best friend. It's like how your clothes fit and what puts on. I mean, how many times have I sent Lais you pictures and I'm like, holy shit, this is my daughter's dress. Like, it's crazy, but my kids hate it, but I love it.
The scale, people need to understand that the scale and a body transformation don't really go together. Right. The scale really only matters, again, if God forbid you're sick and you need to get in a certain range of your weight, if you need to make weight for a fight, if you need to make weight for a bodybuilding show,
honestly,
it's a thing
to know,
but it doesn't it doesn't equal like the body transformation that you want, you know, because the same thing, like Bree's a great example of that. We say it all the time. She's been the same weight for years now, but she looks completely different
than when she started.
So the weight is really,
So along the journey, just to bring it back to our path to that first show, like it wasn't smooth sailing like some people think, that you wake up, you work out, and you just go about your day, eat all your food. Like, we had to navigate through a lot.
Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't it?
What a dream.
How did you navigate through like all the things that you have happening for that first show? And then we'll talk about the second show.
I don't even know. Sometimes I don't know how I make it through every day or every week. But again, always making this the priority, and then everything else comes last. Like my husband always says, you need a to-do list for a to-do list. Like you just, because no matter my to-do list, there could be a million things on it, and I don't even need to write working out down, and it just happens. And then, you know, a lot of people say, well, I don't have time to meal prep. I'm like, okay, well, it takes me not even an hour on Sundays. Like seriously, make a whole bowl of freaking rice. Oh, you don't want rice this week? Then make potatoes, like something. It's just so easy. I am always on the go. I am very rarely at home, even though I work from home. And so when everything is mapped out, and it's easy. Like some people think that you have to make like these gourmet meals. No, I eat filet every single day. Every single day. I know it works. I love it. And yes, I'm a steak snob. And so it costs me a lot of money, but it doesn't even matter because it works. But it's so easy. So easy. And so that's when there are numerous people who are like, well, I don't have time. Okay, well, if I have time to do it, I know you have time to do it because I'm all over the place. And you've seen, I mean, we have hockey tickets, and before that, my God, we got custody of my nephew who's 7. My youngest is 14. That was like starting all over again. So then I had 4 children, and I had a 7-year-old who isn't independent like my girls are. And yeah, that put us through a whirl for sure. But then we had spring break, and we had summer, and we had my birthday, and all these things that you navigate around. And that's what I love, because I can literally just send you a schedule and I'm like, okay, this is how it's going to be. And sometimes you'll be like, hey, we're going to switch days, or okay, go for it today and we'll fix it after that. And so that's what makes it easy. But there's a lot of people who just feel like they don't have time, and you just have to make time.
Right.
It does not consume me all day, every day.
Nobody has time for something they don't want to do, right? Like, period. It just doesn't work. But you're right. The food prepping is so simple and it's so fast.
It's so easy. So easy. And everybody's like, oh, I need a rice cooker. No, do you have a pot? Because it works the same.
So we decided to do this show in August, which ended up being the biggest show of the year. How was that whole experience for you? Like, from getting to the hotel and checking in and like, shit, this is really happening, all the way to that moment when you actually get on stage. How did all that play out for you?
Yeah, how did
I
said, how did Worlds weekend feel for our first show?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you walk in and you're like, oh, all these people are competing, like this is something serious. So that was different, but so it was, I don't even want to say it was stressful, because at that point it wasn't. Anxious for sure. Nerves, simply because yes, I've been on stage before in a beauty pageant, but nothing like this. But God, I think that was the hardest part. So you were excited, and then it was also scary.
Yeah.
For sure, because all these women there have done it a million times, even people on our team who were there, which our team makes it so easy for everybody. But so that was different. But being there for the week, that was probably the most difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
go ahead. No, how did it go? Like, when you finally are getting ready for your stage moment, right? That you put on your bikini,
you're backstage,
and it's go time. It's ready to get on stage. Were you having like a jittery moment? Were you nervous? Were you anxious? Were you having second thoughts?
Second thoughts, no. Jittery and nervous, absolutely. But even the WBFF staff, you know, they're like backstage and dancing and like trying to keep everybody not from leaving. But so I was fine until you were in line and he's like, you ready? And you're like, nope, no, I'm not doing this. But you know, before, there's so much prep that goes into it. Like, we're constantly doing the walkthrough. So obviously you could do it in your sleep, you know, with all the posing. But the second I stepped out on stage, I think I was fine. I don't remember when I like stepped in front of everybody on the stage and took control, if that was fitness or bikini. And I don't remember any of it. Like, I completely blacked out. And I was like, I texted my husband when I got backstage. I'm like, oh, please tell me you did not notice me shaking so bad. And he's like, no, I didn't notice at all. I'm like, oh, it was terrifying. And he's like, yeah, but you're done. I'm like, no, I have to go out on stage 3 more times. Like, but it was exciting. And then afterwards, you're like, holy shit, I just did that.
Yes, that is the best feeling. I had a similar feeling my first show. I blacked out, but I got off stage too. And at first you're just like, you have so much adrenaline and you're like, holy shit, thank God I'm done. And then you're like, holy shit, I just did that. Like, that is exactly the feeling.
Well, and then afterwards, you know, when we all leave and we took our stuff up to our room, we come down and everybody's like, are you Tiffany from Nashville? I'm like, yeah. They're like, can I get a picture with you? And you're like, this is so weird. It's like celebrity status. Sure. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So the weekend kind of played out. You go to Worlds, you do that first show. And one of the things that we've said over and over on the show is that a lot of times when somebody takes on this goal or this journey, like, the goal is always to make it. Like,
right.
Let's set out to get there and to do the thing. And then whatever happens after, right? But you know, you don't know what that is until you've done it.
Yeah.
So as you're packing up your bag back and you know, getting ready to exit because the show's over, like what's going through your mind?
When's the next one? What happens after this? I don't even know. But I think that was the main thing. You were like, I mean, besides all of us, you're like, I need a drink. I need a straight martini because this is exactly how we're going to celebrate this thing. I think the best part of the entire week and weekend, even though the week was difficult because, I mean, you're in Vegas, right? So I'm with my husband who can eat and drink whatever he wants. And he's like, as he's eating like French fries and pizza, he's like, babe, I'm so sorry. Or like when we go somewhere and get a drink and he had to do something, he's like, here, can you hold my drink? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, sure. So I think himself put me through my own testament, but the photo shoot was phenomenal. And then when we had check-ins in the room and you're like, you haven't eaten what you're supposed to eat today. I'm like, oh yes, I have. Like, I promise you. And you're like, I'm like, you need to say something. Like I do the same thing with my husband. Like you just sit and think. And I'm like, can you talk out loud? Like I need to hear what you're thinking. Like, please, like I'm just standing here in my bikini and you need to say something. And you're like looking at your phone, then you're looking at me and Lais's looking at me. I'm like, okay, somebody needs to say something. So you're like, you need a cheeseburger and French fries. And I could not get my heels off fast enough. Like it was just like, I didn't even care. Well, I think we had check-ins at 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. And I didn't get a cheeseburger and fries until midnight. And I was like, we went downstairs and ordered it. And my husband's like, do you also want my fries? I'm like, oh, he did not tell me how much. Yes. I'm eating all of your fries, all of my fries. The people next to us, they probably need to hurry up and eat because I'm about to eat all of theirs. And so that was the best. And so that just took us right into show day. But I even think show day, you don't have time to, there's no time to think, process, or be freaked out. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's like fast paced by any means backstage, but you're like in awe, right? So you're in awe of not only the people on your team, you're in awe of everyone that's back there, all of the different bikinis. And you're like, holy shit, like we all didn't go through the same designer and none of them are the same, no matter how many women are back there. And it was awesome.
But I'll tell you really quick, the burger thing is important because there are two types of people. There's a person that runs to get the burger. And then there's a person that's like, oh, are you sure?
Oh,
is this going to mess up my progress? And those people piss me off because it's like, we got this far with doing exactly what he's saying.
Yes.
Now you're going to second guess it.
Yeah.
You know, and sure enough, you looked amazing on stage, like just flawless. It was so cool to watch. I'm so happy that I got to watch that show too.
I know.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. It is a massive stage. It is a massive show. It is a packed week. You jumped right into the biggest show of the year. But I think it worked out really well. I agree with you. The photo shoot in the desert was amazing. Those in-room check-ins are all fun. Like just an amazing week, but you rocked it. Like first show or 10th show, like it didn't matter. Like you went up there and rocked it and you looked
100%,
amazing.
100%.
Thank you.
And we left that show trying to figure out when your next one would be.
Right.
Because the only one that lined up schedule-wise was this last one, this Atlantic City one.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, and it wasn't even, I wasn't going to come.
Really,
yeah. I was like, oh, my daughter has a cheer comp. Am I an awful mom if I don't go to this cheer comp and I go compete? And that was so stressful, but it ended up working out.
Even that, like, honestly, like at the end of the day, like everyone says that this is a really selfish sport because you've got to do so much for you, right? But I also think that we should all try to reframe that a little bit because it becomes what we were talking about before. It's like, if you're doing this for you, how else are you showing up, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that the selfish part becomes in the day-to-day stuff, whereas parents are always doing for the kids or for other people. And then the moment that you do something for you, it comes across as selfish. Yeah. But if you really, really look at it, it's not. Because if you're doing something for you, that's for you, great. But if you're doing something for you that pays dividends to everybody else,
100%.
then I would say it's probably not.
And I
selfish.
think it's very similar to how people view like marriage, right? Like, for example, whether it's church or not, right? Everyone says that in an ideal world, your spouse comes first and then your kids, right? I truly believe that, because I believe that the spouse, if that's the person that you're with, is the foundation of that family.
Right.
And so a lot of people are like, no, like my kids come first and then my spouse, right? And you've been married how many years? 20 something?
18.
18,
18
right?
years.
Same. Like, like you are one of the rare people that really prioritizes their marriage and really
Right.
has a solid relationship with their spouse. You
Right.
really have 3 teenage kids. You prioritize your husband and your relationship. I
Right.
don't like, it's not that it needs to be above, but it is just
it's
as
important.
important, right?
Right.
Where like I grew up with my dad, my parents saying, well, you know, the spouse is a stranger. The kids are your blood. Like kids always come first. I disagree with that, because the spouse is actually the only person in your life that you get to choose. You don't
Right.
get to choose your kids. I know you make them. You don't get to choose your parents. You don't get to choose anything other than your spouse. And it's like, they're a priority, right?
Right.
Not like, oh, the kids are priority. So same thing with self, right? It's like, I am a priority. And yes, my husband and my kids, all 3 of us are on this one equal line. It's not
Right.
that I have to come first, but I also don't have to come last. Like
Right.
my well-being, my goals, my dreams, my stuff matters. My show matters just as much as your, cheer comp, because
Right.
we matter, because all 3 of us, right? Like kids, spouse, and myself are
Right.
all on the same level. I don't know where parents, especially moms, get this like, well, my kids have to come first, otherwise I'm a bad parent. When it's like, if you also don't come on the same line as them, then
Right.
you're doing a disservice to you. And what example are you setting?
Right.
You
That,
know,
I was
but-
just going to say that, like, when your kids are your age, they don't need to be like, we say it all the time, like we'll go somewhere and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate seeing obese children. It bothers me to no end, because there is no reason for it whatsoever. And so my kids see it all the time. All that mom works out every single day. Do I drink? I do, but I also take care of myself and I take care of everyone else. So if me prioritizing myself by working out every day, watching what I'm eating, going and competing, if that's selfish, so be it. Because
Exactly.
and my husband and my kids say all the time, if it wasn't for me, there is no way this family would function. There is no way. So I have to, because it is so consuming with 3 kids. I mean, I have one that's about to leave for college and it sucks. I have another one who cheers competitively on 2 cheer teams. If anybody knows what that's like, not only does it cost as much as a freaking mortgage, but she has cheer every single day. When they have cheer comps, you have to pull them out of school on Friday. Well, I don't just have one kid, so they all have to be pulled out of school. We all have to travel. Everybody has to pay for it. And it's just like, it's a lot. Our youngest is golf. Well, that's time consuming, because there's so much that has to go into it for them to do. So I am completely selfish when it comes to me and my workouts, and they all know. Everybody at the gym laughs. Like, they even tell Sean, if once in a blue moon he comes to the gym with me, but they'll say, like, when she comes in, as soon as she puts her AirPods in, it's just like, everybody's like, don't fuck with her. Like, she just wants to get in and get out, because there's so much to do that I don't have time to sit and talk to people. And then there's other people at the gym who will get mad at me, because let's say we have our supersets, everything's timed, and I'm like, I can't, like, I'm doing rows. I'm like, you can talk, but I can't stop. Like, and they're like, she's, one guy there, he's like, God, she's such a stuck up bitch. I'm like, whatever, buddy. Like, dude, you're like 80
I'm
years
a hot
old and have
stuck-up
nothing
bitch,
else
so
better
fuck
to do.
you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, the selfish thing is important, because it's like, look at that. Like, you're all a team. Like, your daughter's selfish for doing her cheer, and the other one for doing golf, and you for, like, everyone should be a little bit more selfish, if it's for their well-being, and
I
it's
also
not.
think that it's something we say a lot, like, the kids all have a thing, right? Junior does karate. And we often talk to adults that don't do anything. They just they've lost themselves inside of the kids doing something. This becomes such a cool thing for you to do as an adult, and it only contributes to your well-being. So one of the things that we've been preaching a lot lately is that, like, as an adult, we all disregard how little we participate in things that are extracurricular outside of work and family. That when you do find something that you enjoy and honestly just pours back into you, then you should go all in.
Yeah. We all deserve to be fulfilled, and we all deserve to, you know, reach our potential, and our kids are all going to leave. Like you said, you have one leaving for college, and then what? That's one.
Right.
And two, someday our kids will most likely possibly be parents. And then what kind of life are they going to live because of what they
Right.
saw us do? You know, so
Right.
it all matters, from the healthy habits to setting goals and to striving to do more with your life. Insert thing that this brings. It's a good example for the kids.
Absolutely.
So you did Worlds.
So circling back, so when we talked about doing the show, like one of the things was how many things were on the docket.
Right.
And
The second show.
for the second show. So it seemed more like it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
How did
Even
you
up to like a month before, I
Yeah.
was like, I've got everything. I'll just use it next year when I compete.
Right. So how did you, how did you navigate around that to kind of pull it together? And how did you also stay the course, even though it wasn't 100% sure? Because that's easy to, like, for somebody to fall off.
Yeah. So to say staying the course, sometimes I feel like I fall off the wagon, but like Sean says, so like if you tell me, okay, you can have 5 ounces of wine, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm having 10. He's like, you feel like you totally ruined everything. Or like, if we'll go out to eat and I'm like, shit, I forgot the scale. I probably just ate 6 ounces and he told me to eat 4. Sean's like, seriously? But like a lot of people go the extreme of falling off, where I think those little things is falling off, you know?
Right.
But yeah, going up to it, I was like, okay, so wait a second. It's hockey season and now you want me to go to a Preds game and not drink? Like you want me to have a Tito's and not 2? And so that was totally different. But oh my God, navigating everything. I was ready to pull out the whole time. We started at, I guess, right after Worlds, but I remember us saying, all right, we got 16 weeks. And I was like, oh, 16 weeks, that's like a lifetime. And then you're like, oh shit, we're at 10 weeks. And then you're like, holy cow, like we only have 6 weeks left. And to a lot of people, they're like, that's a month and a half. And you're like, no, you don't understand. Like to somebody who competes like me, that's tomorrow. Because there's so much that, I hate to say there's so much that goes into it, but it's the fun stuff. It's the designing the bikini and designing the gown and going and shopping for it. But the one thing, the one thing that got me totally on board was coming for the photo shoot and the weekends. For sure. I was like, I'm totally doing this. We're not going to back out now. So, but then we get there and I get sick the second I get off the plane. And now you're like, okay, we've now prepped for 2 shows. I've never had to take medicine or see how any of this reacts. And you're like, okay, now we're going to take meds before you step on stage.
on show week.
Yeah, I remember she texted me in the morning. She's like, I'm taking this and this. And I'm like, I don't think you're supposed to take those together.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I already did. So hopefully this doesn't react badly. Sean's like, well, good thing you didn't take it with champagne. I was like, I probably should have. That maybe would have diluted something.
And you know, it's funny because we're totally oversimplifying it, but you were planning on going to Atlantic City, like flying and doing the show, finishing the show and flying back out to go and then drive to make it to the cheer comp.
Yeah, I was going to fly. So we flew into Philly, drove to Atlantic City, and then I was going to compete, have a drink with you guys as soon as we got off stage, drive back to Philly, fly into Nashville, and then drive to Louisville, which is another 3-hour drive to see my daughter compete.
Wow. Literally over, because the show doesn't really end till like 11 at night,
Right.
midnight.
Right.
Yeah. And we had to have been at the airport at 2 a.m.
Right. And you were going to do it all. You were going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I wanted to give the details,
Yes.
because too often people will stop something, give up on something, or not even start something because of a small interruption. Not even like all of the things that had to happen inside of 48 hours. Like something small will interrupt somebody or not even allow them to get started. And they don't realize that all you got to do is just keep going.
There's always a way to make it work.
Like, go through it.
Yeah, you weren't gonna miss your daughter's cheer comp, but you also weren't gonna miss your competition.
Right.
You know, you just make it all
You can
work.
do it all.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My oldest daughter, who is 17, we don't really allow her to drive on highways. And I was like, you have to take your sister. And she's really good. We've raised our girls that family is everything, because I was raised in a broken family. And I was refused to raise my kids that way. So they drove to Louisville Friday. I let all my kids skip school on Friday. Bad parent. So they drove to Louisville on Friday, and then our best friends were also there because they have little girls who cheer. So I got them their own hotel room, but she's 17, so she can't check into the hotel room. So they checked her in. So they had their own hotel room, and she called me on Saturday and said, Mama, you don't have to worry about coming. So I got somebody to cover my shift, because she was going to have to work on Sunday. So that's why we were going to have to go up there. And I freak out when I miss my kids' things. Like Sean's like, she has like 17 more cheer comps this year. Like, it's okay if we miss one. Well, the one I missed, they hit and they got grand champs. And so it's like, sometimes you just miss those things, but it would have saved us because we were exhausted. And it just happens that way. Sometimes you have to miss certain things, but the only reason why I never want to miss anything is because before you know it, they're going to be gone.
Yeah.
Not that they'll never come home, but she's not going to be a cheerleader in college and after that. And so you never want to miss out on anything. But if I don't participate in what I want until then, I'll be 45 years old before I even start anything. And we tell Sean all the time, and we work our tails off, and we're so busy we can't even breathe, and we're bombarded with work, and nobody wants to work. But anyways, that's a whole different podcast. But so our goal is, once the baby who's 14 moves out, I'm not working this hard. I'm not doing this. Like, if my kids move all over the country, when one person has something, we're flying there. Like, I'm dropping whatever it is. And I didn't have that luxury. Now my dad my dad was at Vegas. He was not at this show because he had his knee operated on, but my aunt was there. And she's just like I just told my dad last night, I'm like, so we talked about it, and I'm going to compete in June again next year in Orlando. And it's an hour from his house. So he's like tickled pink. And my aunt's like, what are the dates? I'm like, I don't know what the dates are yet. So it's just awesome to have that, but you just can't ever stop anything, because anything could happen, anything.
Yeah.
And so that is my biggest thing, is when people are like, man, I wish I had your time. I'm like, you have no idea. No idea.
Yeah.
But it's funny. So we're road tripping family. And so on our road trip, we watch you guys, this podcast. We watch your videos, Coach, when you did the Clash one and all that. My husband was like, you should do this. And I'm like record myself throughout the day. He's like, people have no idea how busy you are. And I'm like, I would need like a GoPro. Like, I'd have to wear a hat with like a GoPro, because I don't have time to like walk around with my phone at all times, But
well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because we are obviously nonstop and super busy too. And
right.
You have no idea how hard it is to capture the little bit that you're able to capture.
Correct.
Right? Because it's like, those YouTube series are amazing. I love doing them. And I even have Bree to help record, and he helps record, and I record myself, but it's like, it's not even a quarter of what we do. Like,
right.
It's impossible to I
know.
It's a full-time job to record, because
Yeah.
you're trying to do the thing, and next thing you're like, shit, I didn't record any of this. Like,
I know.
But I do think that it certainly breathes perspective for the person that's like, oh, I don't have time. It's like, you do have time. It's just
You have plenty of time.
Yeah, you're just not positioning it in a way that you feel like you should do this. A lot of times people want the outcomes. They want to look better. They want to feel better. They want better health. but it's such at the end of the list.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
it's sometimes not even on the list, and
Right.
it's never going to happen that way.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know?
Well, and the other thing is like food, you know, people are like, when you get other people who are on low carb, they're like, what do you eat? I'm like, I eat carbs 5 meals a day. It's like 5 straight up 5 meals a day. And they're like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. Like when he takes carbs away from me, I'm like, what did I do? I don't
What did I do to you?
understand. Yeah. And then it's crazy. And I have a girlfriend of mine. She's like, everywhere we go, she gets a salad. I'm like, after I compete, that's what I run for, is the salad. Like, I don't know, it's meat and carbs all the time. And she's like, but it's perspective. That is for sure how people look at this. And it's consuming, but it's not
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
I even have friends who have little kids. I'm like, does your kid like to ride a bike? Yeah. Go outside and walk with them.
Right.
Like,
It's
I don't
simple.
understand.
People definitely like to overcomplicate things, or
Yeah. But
No.
like, what's an hour a day? Seriously,
yeah.
an hour every single day. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. But
I don't either.
I just don't get it.
So, like you said, so next on the docket is a show in June for you.
Yeah.
And did you leave this show knowing that, all right, I'm doing another show? Like there's no way that I'm not doing another show. It just depends on when.
Correct. And I, like even Sean said, I'm like, I just need a break. Simply because it was different, right? We had 2 different
Press.
preps. And
Yeah.
so like I was telling Sean, I'm like, sometimes I need Lais to be my coach, because you're like, listen, 2 different preps, just trust the process. And I need Lais to be like, listen, bitch, this is what we're going to do this time, because we didn't like it last time.
Listen, there's a reason why he does the coaching and not me, okay? Because
Yes.
that sounds like a good idea, but it wouldn't work.
Right. But you need to be like, hey, okay, Lais is going to communicate with you today, and I'm not, because she needs to be like, okay, this is why we're doing this.
We can definitely arrange that. And now that I have it recorded, I can always play it back to you if you
Yeah,
change
for
your
sure.
mind.
Be like,
Who asked for this?
yes, you fucking hate leg day. Well, guess what? This is why you're doing it. So yes, I knew I was going to compete again, but I had said I was going to take a break. And I knew I wasn't going to do the April one, but that we were going to come to the April one, in Orlando, just because they're a blast to go to. And again, we have the photo shoot, everything we do as a team. And that's what I continue to tell everyone, like everybody who comes and talks to me, I'm like, oh my God, if you want to do this, you have to get a hold of them. Like, it's totally different than anybody else. And we've had a couple people join through you guys, but, the first question you get when everyone says, so what's next? You're like, well, I'll compete again. I just don't know when. I'm going to take a little bit off. And you're like, oh, training? Oh, no, yeah, no, I don't know how to not train. No, I'm going to continue to measure my food and train, because it's structure, it's lifestyle. And then somebody who has a sensitive stomach, just like us, it makes life so much more simple.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So what is next?
Yeah. So June, and then we just keep going.
Yes.
I can't wait to, but it's like Coach, you said yesterday, we leave the 15th to go on our road trip for 10 days and then, or 9 days. And then after that, we have another trip, and then it's New Year's Eve, and then it's January already of 2023. I can't believe it. And then again, we'll sell this house and we'll start to build the next one. So there's a lot of hurdles next year also, but
it never stops.
You just have to make it through it.
You navigate through all of it, because life
Yes.
doesn't stop,
Yes.
And it's one of the things I say day one everybody. You got to go into this knowing that nothing's going to change in
Right.
terms of life continuing to flow. You just got to navigate through it. Just because somebody's has the goal of doing this doesn't mean that everything else is going to stop, or that it should.
Right.
It's just that you've got to be flexible in the approach.
Yeah.
Which honestly leads me to my next question, which is for the person listening or watching that, and we ask this all the time, that is on the other side saying, I wish I could, I just don't have time, or I've always wanted to do one of those. You know, what does this version of Tiffany that's done 2 shows now say to that person on the other side?
Oh, do it. You just have to go for it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reward is the pictures and video afterwards, of course. But just looking at yourself in any mirror, for sure. You're just like, yes, yeah. Or like going in, I used to, before you guys, I used to hate going clothes shopping. Hate it. We would go shopping for jeans. I'm like, I hate it. I'm just gonna wear leggings. I hate this. And now I'm like, oh, are we going shopping? I'll just go in my daughter's closet. But yeah, it's just, I get asked all the time. People are like, oh, what do you have to do? I'm like, I just have to check my email. They're like, seriously? I'm like, no, they're a blessing. Like we literally, I just gave them a credit card and I get my plan and my workout. And I just have to do what the paper says. But a lot of times that's so difficult for people. So difficult. But
it really is.
Yeah. But like my girlfriend from the gym who just signed up, I'm like, are you going to compete? And she's like, I don't know about competing just yet. And I was like, oh, we're going to get you hooked.
You see, now you're on this side. Now you know. Yeah.
I'm like, you have to do a photo shoot weekend. So yeah. And then her husband has surgery. What they say, April or something, or is it January?
I think so.
Holy cow. He's down 270 pounds or something.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Oh, we're going to get him on stage too. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
It's all happening.
I'm excited.
I know.
I'm so excited to see everything that we create for you between now and June in terms of like the physique, the bikini, the gown, like posing. It's really amazing to get on stage for the first time. Like it's so life-changing, but I also find it really cool when someone continuously evolves through that journey, because then you can constantly like step out of the box and just create something new. And that's really like where the magic happens. And this third prep is going to be completely different than the first 2. Like no 2 preps are ever the same.
Right.
And life never stops for any of us because we're prepping. And, you know, all we do is just keep showing up every day. And you've done just that. And it's obviously the results of how you look and how you feel speak volumes of just doing the work.
Right.
In this way, like with drinking, with social time, with being busy. You're a mom, you're a business owner, you're a wife, like all the things, you're busy, you know? So yeah.
Amazing.
And you're not 21, like everyone says.
God, I wish I was sometimes.
No, you don't.
Sometimes we pretend and it doesn't ever work out that way. And then you text coach, you're like, I don't think I'm getting 5 meals today. No.
Yeah, I hear you. So my last question is, what was the most like impactful part of this journey for you, of this whole process, the stage, like the entire journey so far? What was the most impactful thing to you?
I think the outcome for sure, but it's fun, the process. And then being with you guys and Team Forever, like, you know, we have daily posts and we have groups and everyone encourages everyone.
Yeah.
And so that's the best thing. It's like, before I even joined with you guys, I'm like, I need friends who have something like this in common with me, because I don't have that, you know, my kids are always so busy, which during the summers, they'll work out with me. And then I wish my husband would work out with me, but when he goes to work all day long and lifts 500, 600, 700 pound windows, I know he doesn't want to come home and go work out with me. But it's amazing how we're all different, but we all have the same thing in common. And so it's a whole different family. And that's what I try to tell everyone about our team itself, for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that.
That's awesome.
So awesome.
Yeah.
There's so many sound bites. There's so many moments that I want to like go back to.
Yes.
I know.
Thank you for being on the
so
show.
much.
Tiffany.
Of course.
Great to have you on the next episode after your show in June. And for any of you listening, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment. We never say those things, but it's something that we're supposed to do anytime we do podcasts, so we might as well say it. And this is going to be episode number 1 of a series of a bunch of episodes that we are going to do back to back. So we are excited to close this season of Lais and the Coach with a bunch of interviews with all of the people that are a part of our team and our fitness family, because it's honestly like the people that we spend every day.
Yeah,
So
it really is.
Thank you.
thank you, everybody.
You're
for watching.
welcome. I love you guys.
Tiffany,
Love you.
we'll chat later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.